Shalom. Call Haloyam La Yahweh, Bahasham Yahweh Shai, Bahasham Recha Kodash, Brakata Yahweh, Brakata Yahweh Shai, Brakata Recha Kodash, Bahasham Yahweh Shai, Bahasham Recha Kodash. Shalom and double honors unto the elder apostles of Great Millstone. Shalom to the Akim Wa Akwa, teaching the truth in all sincerity and genuineness. Shalom. So-called blacks, Hispanics, Native American Indians, or the lost 12 tribes of Israel. I just want to make a quick video. Just getting tired of hearing all of the hoopla and the non-stop loop of now we have another mass shooting now from what they're saying. But why is common sense gun laws a problem now? And where they wanting to institute that? Gun violence gun violence and white culture are one and the same. They go hand in hand. Ever since Columbus got over here to the Western Hemisphere and came into contact with the Native American Indians, with the natives. Well, actually, to be specific, Columbus didn't get as far as the Americas. He got to the islands over there, what you would know as the Caribbeans today. So-called Puerto Ricans is who he came into contact first. That's the tribe of Ephraim, the top tribe of the Northern Kingdom. But that's another topic, but just to give a little bit of clarity on that. But, as far as gun violence, why all of a sudden there's such an outcry and dire plea for gun control is because that's the next phase of the agenda. And they pushing it through their media, which is the mouthpiece of the shadow government, the serpent, the so-called Illuminati. And it's got the media, so it's a slightly different spelling to because the media goes back to the Greek god media, where you see on the screen here. It's a slightly different spelling here, MEDEA, and the media we know today is MEDIA, right? But it's the same thing. It's the god of illusion. So the phrase as what they say, you speak a lie long enough, it becomes the truth. And that's what they do. They put lies into constant rotation and on a loop. So you're constantly hearing lies over and over. People don't know the truth. It might be a little bit of factual base, but then, it's a bunch of fabrication and deception and deceiving with their forked tongue to accomplish a certain agenda. As reports came out a few years back that they came out and said that the last 50 years they used the media to propagate lies towards so-called blacks. When people get home from work and they watch the news every night, there's negative stories about so-called blacks, demonizing and vilifying them to persuade the people to believe a certain narrative about so-called blacks, to make them look like the enemy and the bad guy. And then they will have positive, happy stories about so-called white people to paint them as the good guys. So the media used to paint the Israelites as bad guys and the so-called white people, the Edomites, as good guys. And now they're using the media right now to push their certain agendas. So we'll go ahead and get into a couple of these different definitions and then get some precepts and close out. So starting here at media. So starting here says what? In Greek mythology, Media is the daughter of King Attis of Colchis, a niece of Circe, and the granddaughter of the sun god Helios. Media figures in the myth of Jason and the Argonauts, appearing in Hesiod's Theogony around 700 BC, but best known from Euripides' tragedy Medea and Apollonius of Rhodes' epic Argonautica. So, but this is the key here. That's a bunch of just fluff there, but right here it says Medea is known in most stories as a sorceress and is often depicted as a priestess of the goddess Hecate. So this is, basically Sorceress goes into witchcraft. So we get the definition real quick of sorceress. A female sorcerer, a witch. So it's witchcraft, lies, and propaganda, and persuasion. So that's what we'll get right there on that. So the media today is an extension of the Greek god media, the god of illusion and lies and deception and witchcraft and sorcery. So the media today is modern witchcraft, and they just use the media to fulfill certain agendas and bias that they have for the wicked elites that rule behind the scenes. They didn't call for gun control when Dylan Roof, the Edomite so-called white boy, when he shot up a Baptist church full of so-called blacks, the Jews. But he got awarded Burger King and got safely detained. So the media is basically it's all about psyops. So psyops is short for psychological operations. Psychological operations are operations to convey selected information and indicators to audiences to influence their emotions, motives, and objective reasoning. So they give them biased information to make biased reasoning. And ultimately the behavior of governments, organizations, groups, and individuals. So these quote unquote mass shootings that's been occurring is a psyops in order to persuade the people and to get them emotional in a biased manner to agree with the agenda that they're trying to push so that they can get, which is the narrative of, the common sense gun laws. That's the buzz phrase that they're using in all of this. Every time these last few quote unquote mass shootings been happening over the last couple of weeks, they always it all boils down to them steady advertising the new law of common sense gun laws, meaning restricting the people of their right to bear arms and to buy arms. So they're trying to take away the guns so that they can move in with their agenda when they're coming in with this digital society, and so they won't have any kind of resistance or minimize the resistance and actions of the people as much as possible. So gun violence has been an epidemic since Christopher Columbus came into contact with the natives in the Western Hemisphere, when they slaughtered them to establish America. Why is there all of a sudden a dire cry for gun control? Because gun control is the next gradualism agenda to tighten their viper grip on society and control their moves. The wicked elites are the ultimate cowardly bully who wants to dominate people with no risk of harm when they move in with their digital mandates. They are using psyops and false flags through the media to condition and groom the people to become okay with taking away their Second Amendment rights to legally bear arms. Same way they were able to infringe on everyone's rights and tell them to stay home and to wear a mask the last couple years. They used the media to fearmonger everyone into cooperating with their executive orders, and now magically, the people are facing the new world order of the microchip digital cashless society. What happened to the dangerous virus? Oh yeah, it was a psyop illusion for them to try and institute their digital enterprise and be like the Most High, to get a stranglehold and grip on society forever for what they think, for their satanic version of their kingdom of heaven forever. So we'll go to Isaiah chapter 13. Because this media, they just throw everything in their media machine spin cycle and just use that and put that on repeat all day every day to just condition the people to do what they want. Isaiah 13:19. And Babylon, and when this is Babylon the Great, America today, the glory of kingdoms. Why is it the glory of kingdoms? Kingdoms meaning plural, so it's many kingdoms. It's Babylon the Great. That's why it's Babylon the Great, because it has a bit of all the heathen nations, Egypt, ancient Babylon, a bit of Persia, a bit of all these heathens, spiritual religions. They call it what? They call America what? The great melting pot. Why is a melting pot? Because they throw all the nations together and they're all on top of each other with all their philosophies, and everybody bugged the hell out. The glory of kingdoms, the beauty of the Chaldees is excellency. And we're going to go into this Chaldees excellency, see, because today, the Chaldees today they use the media machine, and the Jewish people run it. The modern day Chaldeans or the Jewish people through the media and through Hollywood and the music industry, and because the Jewish people run all of that. And who they always demonizing? The real Jews, so-called blacks, and then all the tribes, so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. So the Chaldees is right here. It's a territory in lower Mesopotamia. Okay, go to number 2. The inhabitants of Chaldea living on the lower Euphrates and Tigris. 3. Those persons considered the wisest in the land. So who's considered the wisest today? The so-called Jewish people. They're viewed as they run the earth. They run Hollywood. When you look at those opening credits and closing credits of the movies, most of those names are Jewish names. The directors are usually Jewish, because they run it, and they have to have a foundation and an understanding of the Bible when they're making these movies. Because if you notice it, they always have you always notice, like, it feels like there's a theme, a biblical kind of like message or theme in these movies, because they put a bit of biblical truth in it with a wicked Jewish sorcery, warlock, deceptive twist to it. So all of this stuff is, so the wise people today, the modern day Chaldeans, are the Jewish people through their media and Hollywood and music and all of that. The witchcraft of the wicked rap, hip hop music, the demon music that it is today. And so let's go. Let me see if it's something in here I wanted. No, not really. Let me see. So basically, it's the wise men. The Chaldeans was the ancient wise men of the Babylonians in that time. But this is a future prophecy of the modern day Babylonians, Chaldeans, which are because Babylon the Great today is America, and then the Chaldeans are the Jewish people today. And so the beauty of the Chaldees is excellency. In verse 19 here, the beauty of the Chaldees is excellency shall be as when Yahweh overthrew Sodom and Gomorrah. So we know that's the key to know that this isn't the ancient Babylon, because Babylon today is a modern day Iraq. Iraq is inhabiting the ancient Babylonian land region today. And they're still over there. Iraq is over there right now. It's still being inhabited. So verse 20, it shall never be inhabited, neither shall it be dwelt in from generation to generation. Neither shall the Arabian pitch tent there, neither shall the shepherds make their fold there. So we know that Arabians and people still pitching tents there, still living in and inhabiting that land, right? And then when you go back to verse 19, the Lord say that Babylon will be as when he overthrew Sodom and Gomorrah. What happened to Sodom and Gomorrah? Hellfire. And it's not inhabited to this day. It's ruins until this day. So Babylon today is not ruined. It's still thriving it still have people as a nation over there. So we know that this is talking about a modern Babylon, and that's America, so-called white man. And those modern day Chaldeans are the so-called Jewish people today, the diviners and sorcerers. And we'll go to Daniel chapter 2. Let's get a little bit more on that. Daniel chapter 2, verse 1. And in the second year of the reign of Nebuchadnezzar, Nebuchadnezzar dreamed dreams, wherewith his spirit was troubled, and his sleep brake from him. So he was so bothered, he was so troubled in that dream, till you know how something you can wake up out of your dream because it's so terrible. So he got woke up. Verse 2. Then the king commanded to call the magicians and the astrologers and the sorcerers and the Chaldeans. So why is the Chaldeans being mentioned in the same breath as sorcerers, witchcraft, diviners? Because Chaldeans are the modern day witchcraft sorcerers. Well, they were the sorcerers then. They was along those lines. They was the same. They were one and the same. And the Jewish man through the media today and Hollywood pollute the people today to do things and make decisions based off a evil, wicked persuasion. And for to show the king his dreams. So they came and stood before the king. So Nebuchadnezzar wanted to get his dream interpreted. And so he called up all these wicked sorcerers and diviners and astrologers and the Chaldeans, who were the head of all of it. We'll go to Chaldeans. Okay. And number 3 again, those persons considered the wisest in the land. So they were the wisest amongst them all. But they were all of the same fabric. So sorcerers right here. So the word sorcerers. To practice witchcraft or sorcery, use witchcraft. A sorcerer, sorceress. So we know that the Chaldeans are parallel with sorcerers and witchcraft. And that's today through the media, making people do things against their objective will through fear mongering and fearing them into making decisions and going along with their rights being taken away. Verse 3, and the king said unto them, I have dreamed a dream, and my spirit was troubled to know the dream. So basically he was just trying to find out the dream. And that was about it. Just wanted to get on that just to show that the Chaldeans and the astrologers and sorcerers, witchcraft, those that work iniquity and witchcraft and familiar spirits, which the Most High, he had put to death. So from there, we'll go ahead and get let's see, Psalms 94 and 20. Shall the throne of iniquity have fellowship with thee, which frameth mischief by a law? So that's what they're doing right now. That mischief goes into iniquity and wickedness. They frame in sin and infringing on the laws of the people right now by a law. And so that's a part of an unrighteous decree. So Isaiah 10 and 1, woe means destruction unto them that decree unrighteous decrees. They're using these mass shootings and such a big outcry, using that to further the next phase and their complete control over the masses and take away their guns. So when they move in, people won't have any weapons to fight against them. When they move in with the new United Nations armies and everything of that nature, that's going to come and take over America's military and do away with them. And so that's another topic, but that's what they're doing. That's basically what they're getting. That's what they're laying the foundation for. And that right grievousness which they have prescribed. So it's a grievous thing to take away the people's rights and to take away their right to bear arms. And we know that so-called white people love their weapons, So it's going to be pure anarchy and seditions and uprisings amongst the people. That's going to fuel that apocalyptic, outbreak. Psalms 55 and 20. He hath put forth his hands against such as be at peace with him. He hath broken his covenant. Verse 21, the words of his mouth were smoother than butter, but war was in his heart. See, that's war's in their heart right now. They're trying to act like they're pulling on they tugging on the heartstrings of the people, saying, oh, these many children died, and then, oh, it's another shooting here, another shooting there. We got to get in control of all these guns. We got to stop this gun violence. We got to protect our children. They want to, wickedly use reverse psychology and frame it as it's for our own protection. It's for your children's and families' protection. But war's in their heart, because once they do that, crack down, then they'll move in with the war that they have planned against the citizens. It's going to get that civil war kicked off and those uprisings amongst the nations fighting against each other, as prophesied in the Apocrypha. We can get that another time, but we'll just stay on topic right now with these laws and everything they're doing. From there, we'll go ahead and go into the Apocrypha for the Sirach, chapter 12 and verse 10. Never trust thine enemy, as Scripture told us, as Most High told us in Deuteronomy 28:68, that we were going to go into captivity, into slave by ships again, and be sold to our enemies. Who bought us on those slave auction blocks when we got off the slave boats? So-called white people. Never trust thine enemy, for like as iron rusted, so is his wickedness. He's waxing worse and worse as he's trying to fulfill his ultimate enterprise of having complete control and dominion over the human body. Verse 13, who will pity a charmer that is bitten with a serpent, or any such as come near wild beasts? So anyone that's trying to, what a snake charmer is. That's a person that's sitting Indian style. Those East Indians you've seen, they blowing that little flute, and a little cobra come up out of their little basket thing. Yeah, so if he get bit by that snake, nobody gonna pity him, because you're a fool for messing with a conscienceless beast. Same thing. That's what Esau Edom is like it then too. The so-called white man, he's likened to a snake. He's the serpent from the garden. He's the serpent, the same spirit that was in that serpent is in Esau today. That's another topic as well, but that's the same one. And it's not a coincidence that he's likened it to a snake. And so people that's trusting him don't pity them when they are taken and destroyed by that serpent and bitten in the end. So we was on what verse? Verse 13. Who will pity a charmer that is bitten with a serpent, or any such as come near wild beasts? And just like these other people that be in these zoos, or these people that the so-called white folks love to go into the jungles and everything and look at these lions, and then when you hear about them getting eaten, you don't pity them, because it's a foolish thing to do that. Same thing with Esau. He's a wild, ferocious, savage beast. You don't trust him, because he'll destroy you if you do. Verse 16, an enemy speaketh sweetly with his lips, but in his heart he imagineth how to throw thee into a pit. He will weep with his eyes, but if he find opportunity, he will not be satisfied with blood. So he don't want just your blood now. He's taking all the Israelites' blood in the bodies. Now he wants the souls to bow unto him, to make him their God. But he has ultimate God complex. He's a wicked demon. So all of this media that's being spun, believe none of it. It's a little bit of factual stuff in there, but it's all fabricated to fulfill his wicked agenda. So just wanted to go into that a little bit. All praises, honor, and glory due to the Most High Power, Yahweh, B'Hashem Yahweh Shai. Hopefully this video was edifying. Till next video, I say, Shalom.